Hey everyone, this is Walter, and I'm going to be reading you some YouTube posts from Marshall Mathers IV. Yeah, you can make posts on YouTube apparently. This isn't actually Eminem's son, it's some guy from Detroit named Isaac who people thought was going to be the next Elliot Rodger. He has really weird views on race and has never had a girlfriend. So, let's get into it. I've never walked up to any black man or woman in public, even in the past when I was still somewhat normal. Every time I'd see them in a store, on a sidewalk, or in a parking lot, I always kept my distance from them, and now I will continue to do so permanently from now on. But to tell everyone the truth, and to be fair, I would never walk up to anyone and just start talking. That's not me or who I am. I always feel even more lonely whenever I go out in public, not that often, because I've been so disconnected from society ever since I dropped out of high school in the 9th grade, way back in April of 2013 when I was 16 years old. Yeah, that post is current, 9 hours ago as of when I typed this. Funny thing is, if black people would have never lived in any big cities anywhere in America, and in order for that to have been the case, they would have had to have never had the idea to ever move to them in the first place, which obviously did not happen, and if black people would have only chose to ever live in rural areas or smaller or medium-sized cities, if they would have been more humble in that way, I would have definitely had respect for you people. I would have actually cared about and loved you. If only things would have been flipped in that way, if only things like that would have been the case, then all the white people from big cities would have been jealous, envious, angry at, and hate me. I mean, if black people never chose to live in any big cities, I would have also never cared about or wanted to live in any big city myself. This guy is not racist in the usual sense. He actually feels really inferior and jealous, and freely admits to being jealous, but his idea of black people isn't exactly the truth. Another thing that has messed me up is growing up from 15 years old in 2012 till now in 2021 at the age of 24, living in a country of black people who are obsessed with themselves, always bragging and boasting about their melanin. Being so obsessed with their skin color and their hood culture, totally proud of themselves as a group of people, obviously, how do you think that's going to make me feel in the long run? Seriously. And here's the thing, if black people never lived in any big cities, never moved to them, never had the idea to move to them, then, and either lived in rural areas or small cities and only went to big cities for work or to visit every now and then I would have never come to hate any of you or have been angry, jealous, or envious of any of you at all. I would have never had the dumb extreme desire and longing to ever move to or live in any big diverse city if they would have never had any diversity in the first place. Why is he so obsessed with experiencing diversity? I think he's really into black girls, to the point of fetishizing them. He used to talk about how he wanted a 14-year-old black girl who can fart and burp on command, but let's keep reading more recent things. I'm an A-positive blood type, so all the stress I feel goes to my head or brain. In other words, which is why every time I use my phone for a short or long period of time, I always feel like my head is about to explode. O-positive blood types have it better, because whenever they get stressed out, it goes through the rest of their bodies, like arms, legs, hands, and feet. So whenever O blood types get stressed out, they always want to punch or kick someone or something, no matter what it is. Yeah, I had no idea your blood type dictated your personality. I am O negative if anyone was wondering, and yeah, I like to punch things when I get mad. Oh well. You know, black people mainly hate, and are for the most part, anti-white people, but white people are not the only people black people complain and whine about to the mainstream media. They also don't have the best terms with inner-city Mexicans. Obviously there's exceptions, but overall, inner-city Mexicans don't really love, care about, and don't really respect black people. Asian people are another group that's not on the best terms with inner-city black people, and I honestly believe both Mexicans and Asian people say pretty racist stereotypical generalizations about black people just as much as white people do, if not more. I would say the main group of people that black people seem to really love, respect, look up to, care about, and are influenced by are Muslims, or Arabic people in other words. Both have massive love, respect, and care for each other equally, not to mention the very talked about topic, especially in modern times, how Muslims are considered to be the black people of the Middle East, and both are compared to each other a lot. Whereas Jews in Israel are considered to be the white supremacists of the Middle East, and compared to the white supremacists here in America. But another group of people that I also feel black people really love, respect, and care that I've never heard them having any problems with are Indians, or people from India. Both think really fondly of each other from what I see. What's also interesting to note is that both Muslims and black people both complain a lot and talk a lot about oppression, victimhood or victim mentality, racism, and discrimination, and Muslims from the Middle East talk a lot about how they feel so bad and sorry for blacks here in America. And when it comes to the only white people who have black friends and who are just really in good and tight with inner city black people are the white people who kiss up to them and kiss black people's ass. You know, I don't live in the most diverse area, but I had a few black roommates in the army and a lot of black battle buddies. I wouldn't say any of them seem to be anti-white. I know I don't know every black person, but my own experience seems to contradict Marshall here. Jews in Israel are considered to be the white supremacists of the Middle East. Who has this guy been listening to? I'm not a fan of Israel, by the way. But what? You know, being born under and being an Aquarius sign really is a curse. I don't care what anyone says, because Aquarius signs are extremely stubborn. So much to the point it's maddening for others who have to talk to or even be in the presence of one, because that's pretty much their weakness if you think about it. Which also explains why people who have the Aquarius sign are extremely hated on because of how stubborn we are, because that's a part of our sign. Okay, now in the past few days he's blamed his blood type, his zodiac sign, and black people living in the city for his behavior. But he sure hasn't blamed himself. Let's see what else he blames. The reason I'm so fucked up is because first of all, I was born into a family with a history of mental illness. And one of the mental illnesses I just so happened to get, unfortunately. When I would grow up and become a 15-year-old teenager in 2012 was OCD, being unhealthily obsessed, addicted to, and fixated on black Americans in America. And because my dad never thought to raise me in any big city anywhere in America with a shit ton of diversity. Which would have at least killed my healthy obsession, addiction, and fixation that I had with black people from 2012 when I was 15 years old all the way up until early 2020, January of 2020, when I was 22 years old for one more month before I would have turned 23 years old on February 12th, 2020. In 2020, starting at the age of 23 years old in mid to late 2020 was when I started outright hating black people in America and just going off on them. Black women and men, but probably more so black women if I'm going to be honest here. Okay, now he's blaming his family's history of mental illness. No comment there, both sides of my family are highly mentally ill. But I guess he's moved on to actually hating black people now, as of turning 23. Which is 1 year longer than St. Eliot made it. In my YouTube videos, and when I wasn't able to make YouTube videos anymore, I made a ton of community posts continuing to go off on black women and men in America, as well as white people who got to be raised in big, super diverse cities growing up. Which allowed these very spoiled, lucky, blessed, fortunate, privileged white people to experience such a crazy large amount of diversity, all these different minorities and immigrants and cultures to get used to and normalized to from such a young age. And what better time in anyone's life to get used to and normalized to people of different races and cultures than when you're a child, in a very innocent time in anyone's life when you don't think about race, skin color, or even culture at all, really. When you're a kid, no matter your race or culture you come from, when you're around other kids from different races and cultures, you just think of them as other kids, or if you're friends with them, you would think of them as your friends. Being aware of race or culture doesn't come into until your teenage years, where you notice more things like different skin colors or different cultures, but what's really fucked up is that all of us Americans are raised in this very sick, twisted, upside-down, corrupt country that is so obsessed with race and culture. So me being raised in a country that's extremely diverse but only in big cities because that's literally almost all the time what most minorities and immigrants love and prefer instead of rural areas or even small cities. You might have noticed, but he actually thinks minorities want to live in ghettos. Like, he might think ghetto is actually a positive word. Rap has gone over this man's head. Really damaged me because I had no way to feed or hydrate my diversity deficiency, which did hurt me in the long run, and that's something no one can deny because that's pretty obvious and clear what happened here in my case. My heart is constantly heavy with pain and my brain is constantly overloaded with extreme stress, always feeling like my head is about to explode. And so, I really had it bad no matter what way you look at my life or my situation I'm in. Also, the reason I ended up turning on black people in America is because of all the dumb protesting, rioting, looting, and burning because of George Floyd's death, or really any other black man or woman, because if it wasn't George Floyd, it would have been another black man or woman. And I seriously find all the protesting, rioting, looting, and burning of all these big cities black people were spoiled and privileged to even grow up in the first place to be annoying, and it got to the point I snapped and I couldn't take it anymore. Plus that added with my longing, desire, craving, and wish to experience black people since I was 15 years old in 2012, which caused me years of extreme severe torment and torture emotionally and mentally because I never could because I never had a way. So that's why I eventually ended up becoming this really tragic guy and person you see today, which is unfortunate, but if you look at it from my perspective, you can see why this happened to me. Anyone who drops out of high school, whether it be a guy or girl, who completely shuts themselves out from the world, from people socializing, the community, and society, will end up becoming freaks, especially men more so than women, at least in my opinion, because men are way more aggressive, violent, dark-minded, protectors, defenders, and whatnot. So people who do that just literally end up becoming the lowest species of humans to ever live and exist. They become burdens on their families, other people, and of course society. And it's really tragic. People like me end up losing interest in just about anything and everything in life. They even lose interest in their own hobbies and things they like. They lose any and all motivation or self-drive. They're the ones who are the worthless, pathetic, pitiful lowlifes of society that nobody gives a fuck about, and they only continue to get worse as time goes on and the older they get. What? I dropped out of high school and I still had the same friend group and everything. I think the problem might predate dropping out for Marshall. Okay, one more post for today. Though he's still calling himself Marshall Mathers IV, he no longer likes Eminem. Who is Marshall Bruce Mathers III, if you weren't aware. Let's look at why real quick. I really hate how Eminem is such a little fucking bitch and a complete sellout puppet, a worthless pawn in the hands of the elitist people who own Hollywood, and are such lazy cowards because they can't push their evil propaganda by themselves. They need dumb, self-obsessed, retarded, brain-dead, washed-up, stupid celebrities like movie stars, rap artists, pop stars, R&B stars, etc. to push their masters upside propaganda, whether it be gay propaganda, trans propaganda, lesbian propaganda, bisexual propaganda, anti-white people propaganda, anti-American, anti-God, anti-Republican propaganda, or pro-black and other minority propaganda. I just hate how Eminem kisses up to black people, totally kisses their ass and has their balls in his mouth like the pussy he is, defending them, protecting them and all just really annoys me. Funny thing too is if the old 1999 to 2002 Eminem met this modern day Eminem, he would chew up this new school era softened up Eminem and spit him out. The old school Eminem, if he were around nowadays, would be labeled a racist, a white supremacist, a neo-Nazi, a skinhead. He would be fired from literally any and all rap record labels. He would be cancelled in seconds. He would also be called sexist, homophobic, and lots of other stuff, yet Eminem became such a little feminine rapper, just pisses me off. Hey, you don't expect Eminem to be pro-black when all of his friends are black? Yeah, okay. You know what's really weird? With all the random shit this guy blames for his behavior, he never seems to blame God. Here he is defending religion for no real reason except that his family's religious. Well, whatever. Anyway, that's why he hates Eminem now, for not being based enough or some shit. Well, that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say, let me hear it in the comments. Yeah, I thought this video might be a little too hot for my main channel, so I released it here. Expect more normal content very soon. And if you want more, subscribe to see my new videos I post. If I post anything. Thanks also to my awesome patrons. They're funding this channel too, I guess. And have a great day, everyone.